Well, hello, friends. Get it together, Veronica. Welcome to 10 terrifying nights of frightening fragrances. How do you like my headband? Let's talk about headbands and getting older and just not caring what people think. What I'm getting at is I used to teach. And when I taught, I worked with some of the most wonderful, wonderful ladies and gentlemen on the planet who were so fun and funky. And we did things like this. We wore headbands and light up necklaces and tacky sweaters to school to teach. So here's my little Halloween headband. $3 at Walgreens. What do we think? So the idea behind this video is that I'm finally tackling 10 of my most terrifying, frightening fragrances and trying them on at night to see how they perform and whether they last into the morning and what I think of them as they dry down. These are fragrances that are so frightening that I dare not wear them during daylight hours. Yeah, only at night and with garlic around me and a stake in my hand to fight off the vampires. So I hope you enjoy this review. Maybe these are fragrances that you would never dream of wearing, but I hope you find it entertaining that I did it so you don't have to, because I'm here for you. Aww. We're going to kick off our 10 Nights of Terror with none other than Mackie from Bob Mackie. This is an early 90s heavy floriental fragrance. There's some fruity notes in here and a tuberose note. I actually talked about this in a tuberose video. Look at this bottle. It's flat on the back and has a belly on it, like a pot belly or a beer belly or something like that. Interesting bottle design, quite tacky, one might say. Tacky Mackie. Tacky Mackie. So we're going to spray this thing on and hope for the best. I'll see you in the morning. So I am back in the morning to share with you my impressions of Mackie. So let's start with the question of, is it a terrifying fragrance? I'm going to say the terrifying factor is maybe at like a 3 after having worn it for a full night versus the original like 8, 9, or 10 frightening factor that I started off with last night. This is supposed to be a fruity, floral, sweet fragrance. I don't get a lot of sweet out of this. I do get super heavy, concentrated florals, and it's got like a little bit of an animalic undertone to it that I'm not a big fan of with the floral thing going on as well. Yes, it has tuberose in it. That is why I wanted to bring this into my collection, and that's why I included it in my tuberose series. And I know that a lot of people go bananas over this. There are some really great reviews on Fragrantica about Mackie. People, it's their signature scent. They adore it. They can't be without it. They have backup bottles, all of that. I have to say, I don't get a lot of fruitiness or sweetness out of this. I do just get mostly super concentrated florals in an animalic way with a little bit of green undertone. My second night in 10 Nights of Terror, frightening fragrances. And tonight's is none other than Knowing from Estee Lauder. I have done a full day wear on this in the past. I have a scent of the day video dedicated to Knowing back in my archive. So I'm trying this again. It's been months and months since I've worn this for a whole day. This was a huge powerhouse of yesteryear and still is, even though it's been reformulated, it's still a very potent fragrance. It's one that I had in the mid 2000s. I purchased one off of eBay, an original formulation, and it was too much for me. I liked it, but it was like way, way overpowering for me. So this one that I have here is a newer bottle, and it's the new formulation, which I understand is slightly toned down, but still has a lot of the same flavor of the original. This is a very earthy, mossy, some aldehydes at the top there. This has heavy patchouli more than anything else. Did I mention oak moss? And it has a lot of animalic notes like civet. We're going to try this out. This is one that I think for me has always been a love-hate, and it can get really overpowering in a way that is just you want to scrub it off. So it's both I'm attracted to it and repelled by it. So let's do a little spray on here and get ready for the evening. And I'm gonna be a little crazy and spray a lot. I think this is one of those fragrances that you only need to do a couple of sprays on, but since we're doing this for the sake of Halloween, I'm gonna go for it. Okay, yeah, that fragrance is it's certainly wafting up and getting right up in my nostril hairs. So I am gonna wrestle with knowing for the night as I sleep, and I'll report back in the morning. Okay, so it's the morning after the night of shame of wearing Knowing by Estee Lauder. So, I did do a video of the day, I believe, on this months and months ago. So this is sort of a second wear in the year of 2021. And it is, as I remember, incredibly overpowering. When I first put it on, it is so heavily something. I don't know if it's the patchouli in it or what, but there's something in that direction that's just like, ew, ew. And for 2 hours straight. So you have to wait that long for it to dry down to its woody glory. It has a little bit of powderiness at that point. Some of the spices come through. You get oak moss and patchouli and woodiness. I have to say, now that I've tried this a few times, this is one I'm certainly going to keep in the collection. Knowing isn't going anywhere, and Knowing knows it. You know, Knowing that you're staying in the collection. You see what I did there, guys? You see what I did? But it's not one that I think I'm going to actually physically wear. It's one that I will keep for reference. I know a lot of people love this and find a lot of joy in wearing it. I think I have outgrown this type of fragrance and don't want to smell like this on a day-to-day basis, but I appreciate having it. To me, for those of you that are like, oh, get rid of stuff you don't wear, I totally appreciate that. I get the whole minimalist thinking, and or only keep the items that you really love and are going to wear. But for those people that are actually collectors of fragrances or collectors of anything, you collect artwork, books, whatever, there are some things you keep in your collection just to have them, because there's something about the possession of them that makes your collection feel more robust and complete, and there's joy in that, even though you're not going to wear it. And there's nothing wrong with that either. So guys, if you're out there and you enjoy collecting fragrances, don't let other people make you feel like there's something wrong with you if you have fragrances that you don't use. Collecting fragrances is like collecting anything else. People that collect cars, for example, they may not drive their cars every day, but they enjoy looking at them and having them in their collection. And there's nothing wrong with that. The terrifying factor for Knowing, let's rate this. I would say that it's still a strong 9 on the frightening scale. Yeah, so this one stays on the terror list. So on the third night of 10 Nights of Terror, I actually wore this one. I didn't do the preview video, sorry about that, but I did put it on. It's called Cabochard, and it's touted as one of the earliest leather fragrances for women. This is an eau de toilette concentration, a vintage version. It's also supposed to be mossy, earthy, woody. I have to tell you, I don't know if it's the fact that it's an old bottle or not, but it smells the same as it did years and years ago. I've had this bottle for, goodness, it has to be maybe, I don't know, 15 years, 10, 15 years, something like that. It's a pretty strong fragrance. It's one that will choke you out. I had the nerve to wear a lot of this into the office in my younger days, not really realizing I was probably killing some folks. I worked in an open office environment where we had cubicles. Can you imagine? Can you imagine somebody coming in with a suit, because I wore suits in those days, with this sprayed all over? The fabric of your suit alone would hold on to this fragrance. It was really strong. So it is leathery. It smells a lot to me though like an old drawer of an old, like a vintage dresser. When you open that up, that sort of musty old smell, it smells like that with leather. This is not a fragrance I think that now I would enjoy, although when I first wore it, I thought I was being really like chic, avant-garde, the right word to use here. I'm not really sure. But anyway, this has a terrifying factor of probably 6 or 7 and remains so. Cabochard. Night 4 of 10 Nights of Terror, I wore Eden by Cacharel. This is a fragrance that is, I talk about it being so heavily concentrated in the green notes that it's like an alien fragrance. Sorry for the camera shaking here, guys. This fragrance is, I'm gonna tell you right now, the terrifying factor on this is at a solid 10. I sprayed this on and was pretty miserable because I sprayed it on very liberally, right? Because I'm doing a whole test. I'm not trying to be like dainty about it. So I sprayed myself down with this before bed and regretted every second of it. This is a super duper strong fragrance. I don't think I will be wearing this again. It's one of those fragrances that I like to talk about in videos because it is special in its own right, and I'm going to keep it in my collection because it's getting rarer and rarer to find. And this whole shelf, as a matter of fact, I reorganized my whole fragrance collection, and these are some of my more older school, more vintagey kinds of fragrances. Anyway, this is one that falls into that category, and I want to keep it around for that. I do have admiration for what it is and the fact that it's such a heavily green fragrance, but it is absolutely terrifying in all the things that Halloween is made out of. So I'm not going to be wearing Eden again, not for pleasure, but I will be referencing it in future videos. Terrifying factor of a solid 10. Totally frightening. For tonight's frightful fragrance, we're going to actually hang out in my husband's small but mighty collection. He's got some really good ones here. And he has one that I intended to purchase for myself, but realized it was much more masculine maybe than I was really ready for. And it's this baby here, Ursa by Tiziana Terenzi. People say that it is very much like Straight to Heaven by Kilian. So this has some really interesting notes in it, including tobacco, and there's some liquor, I think it's rum, and definitely patchouli. And so the thing about this fragrance that makes it frightening is that it can smell rather pungent and funky when you first put it on. And I'm not talking about like an oudy, animal kind of funk. I'm talking about like super wet dirt that maybe is also moldy. That sounds really, really weird. But I like weird fragrances, you guys. Anyway, I have sent 2 decants of this to 2 friends here on YouTube, and you've seen maybe their reviews. Marcy at Marcelina Teresa and Richard at Richard Keycott, and they both hated it. They thought it was a stinker. So I had to sort of reassess, my gosh, is it really gross? Because while it's odd, I didn't think it was disgusting. So I have sprayed it on my hand. So I described the opening of this, which I think is really the harshest part of the fragrance. I describe it as like a rotting wood with some moss on it and maybe a little bit of liquor poured on with a hint of tobacco, all like times 10,000. So it's super pungent. So that's the opening. Let me sleep on it and give you guys my verdict. Okay, so we're back in the morning here, and I have to tell you, this fragrance is not nearly as frightening once you get past the dry down of it. And I have to say, a little bit of cheating. My husband has worn this for a full day. He really likes it. It is quite potent. However, the dry down is fairly pleasant. It's just a super patchouli bomb. It's an earthy patchouli. Like imagine wet dirt mixed with a really earthy patchouli and you get Ursa. Nothing more, nothing less. And so this is not really that terrifying to me. I would give it a fright factor of maybe something like 6 or 7 in the opening, maybe 8. Let's give it an 8. And then as it dries down, it's no more than like maybe a 4 or a 5. If you're an experienced fragrance wearer, and if you're not, yeah, it will continue to be terrifying because it's mostly patchouli. So that's Ursa. Tonight I am going to wear Mitsouko from Guerlain. I have the Eau de Toilette concentration. I do wonder
what the eau de parfum is like. According to Fragrantica, the eau de parfum is supposed to be warm and spicy. This eau de toilette is not warm and spicy. I didn't have a good first, second, or third experience with Mitsouko, and I keep trying to love it. I have a really hard time with this one. It has rose, it has bergamot. There is supposed to be a really juicy peach note in the middle. I didn't get peach out of it when I tried it before. In the base, there's oak moss and vetiver, and I believe there's amber in it too. This fragrance was created back in the early 1900s. I think it was 1919, that range, and has a long history with Guerlain and a cult following. So let's see how Mitsouko plays out tonight. Okay, I'm back to tell you about my experience last night with Mitsouko. I tell you, I think I am supposed to be getting like an earthy, spicy citrus out of this, and what I get is a very dulled down urine scent, maybe with like a hint of something lemony or citrusy in it, maybe faintly in the distance, but I mostly get like a musty, dusty pee smell. I hate to say that because I really want to love this, but Mitsouko, you disappointed me. Yeah. I'm gonna keep it up here on the shelf because it is what it is. You know, it's kind of one of those perfumes I'm gonna keep out of courtesy to it because of its history and not because I plan to wear this. That said, if you own the eau de parfum and you really like it and you think it's drastically different than the eau de toilette, please do let me know. I am willing to pick up the eau de parfum because I'm crazy and try that one instead of this eau de toilette disaster that I have had no luck with. Tonight I'm going to try Le Bleu, which means the blue hour. This is another one from the House of Guerlain that was created early. I think this is also an early 1900s fragrance. It's supposed to evoke a melancholy kind of mood, and is supposed to represent that hour there of the last light of the day. This one has terrified me because the first time that I tried it, all I got was this super strong lemon pledge, furniture cleaner type of smell. It was so off-putting. I wondered, what mistake had I done now with my crazy blind buying? This is the eau de parfum concentration. This one includes some real citrus notes like bergamot and lemon. It's got neroli, has a little bit of rose. Other notes that stand out to me are heliotrope and violet and iris. So it has this powderiness to it. In the base, you get this really warm, cozy set of notes that I did not get when I first tried it at all. Vanilla and musk and benzoin and sandalwood and some others. So this was supposed to be like a vanillic, citrusy, powdery, melancholy invoking kind of fragrance. So let's test it out. Let's give it a second whirl. Okay, so I am happy to report that Le Bleu was much, much, much better the second time around. Is it a love? No. Is it a like? Maybe. It's not a dislike anymore, and it's not terrifying anymore. I would give this a terrifying factor of maybe a 3, whereas before last night, I would have had this up in like the 8 or 9 range. After I gave it a second chance and it did calm down on my skin last night, it is quite powdery, quite soft, and very much a vanilla with citrus as it promises to be. But it's super soft on my skin, not the crazy beast mode that I thought I was experiencing the first time around. That just goes to show you sometimes it's worth revisiting a fragrance and wearing it in different seasons to see how it performs for you. And also just your sense of smell changes with seasons, over time, and so forth. Le Bleu, we're okay. You and I, we're not going to be best friends, okay? But you can hang out in my collection. We're good. I will wear you again. Next is the bad boy or bad girl of the Swiss Arabian world, Shaghaf Oud. We all know about Shaghaf Oud. We know that it's considered a dupe for Lancome's Oud Bouquet. And the reason that I'm including this is not because the scent itself is terrifying, but because the power of this is incredibly frightening. When I first wore this, I oversprayed. You know, you would think that I lived alone. You would think that I would never wear perfume again. I just sprayed with gay abandon, as the fragrantician says. And I just about killed everyone around me. Like, that was a bad day for my household. You could not get this scent out of anywhere that day. Every room in this house smelled like Shaghaf Oud. It was bad. So let me try to spray lightly tonight and see how this goes. As a reminder, this is saffron at the top. You get rose and oud in the middle, and then praline, as well as vanilla. Okay, so I am both excited and sad to report that it really doesn't matter whether you spray a little or a lot. This bad boy here, bad girl, is going to fill up the room. Imagine the nerve of me to wear this as a bedtime scent. Went to bed and regretted it the whole night. I was hating my entire existence. So was my husband. It is still beautiful, but it's a lot. Maybe this is the kind of fragrance that you need to just sprinkle in the air, do the sprinkler method, and then walk under it instead of applying to skin or to clothing, because it is just like, it gives atomic a whole new definition. So I still enjoy this, but I'm going to have to give it a terrifying factor of an 8.9, like nearly a 9. And just advise folks to spray very lightly. It is beautiful. It's a gorgeous, thick, sweet, oudy, resinous fragrance. But boy, just be careful with this one. Shaghaf. Next up, we have this old gal, Judith Lieber Night. Judith Lieber makes handbags, I believe, and maybe some other goods, but I know her for that. And the bottle is supposed to be inspired by both her handbags and Art Deco design. The bottle is hideous to me. There's nothing about this that is cute at all. I did get this for a very low price of like $12 or something on FragranceNet. This has rave reviews on Fragrantica. People just going on and on about how much they love this, how sexy it is, how deep and wonderful. It's supposed to be an ambery, warm, spicy fragrance with some patchouli and incense. It's got cinnamon and I think it's bergamot at the top. And then it has peony and jasmine in the middle, and incense and patchouli and something else in the base. I don't remember, maybe some woody notes. So I was hoping for a really sexy fragrance. I was looking for something along the lines of Fifth Avenue Royale from Elizabeth Arden. I'm always up for a great bargain fragrance, and so I thought I'd try it for $12. When I first sprayed this on before, there was nothing like really nice, pleasant, sexy about it at all. It was just a ooh kind of odor. So let's try this again. Okay, so we gave Judith Lieber Night a full wear. And I have to say, I am still not impressed at all. In fact, I quite dislike it and will likely be selling this off to someone else who can find some joy and love in it. So a lot of the reviews talked about this being heavy on the cinnamon. Maybe I got some cinnamon if I thought really hard about it, but I feel like this just came across on me like super sharp florals with a little hint of smokiness. A lot of patchouli, so sharp florals and patchouli for the most part. And I just couldn't get with it. It never calmed down to something nice or fun or even like tolerable. It was just irritating and annoying. It did die down relatively quickly. What I mean by that is like within an hour, it softened up, but it didn't soften up to something I enjoyed smelling. The whole time, this was a big fat no for me. I didn't smell it upon waking, so it didn't last long, thank goodness. And I think this terrifying fragrance remains terrifying in the opening, a factor of at least a 9, because it's so, I don't know, you guys. It's almost like this, like flowers that are just way, way too sharp. That's the only description I can give. And this is a no. So this is terrifying. One that I'm going to do here for you because I messed up the recording is The infamous, and I do mean infamous in the correct definition of that word, Amouage myths. Oh my. So I purchased this blindly. Bottle is gorgeous. The box, the presentation that it comes in is gorgeous. I purchased this because there was a promise of it being a beautiful green mysterious fragrance. But what I got was something different. I will link below for you a video by the beautiful Terry at Perfume Lover 80. Don't think she's doing videos on YouTube anymore. At least she hasn't in a while as of the posting of this video. But when I looked up on YouTube, after I blind bought this, I wish I had seen her video ahead of time. She did a video on this that had me hollering, is all I'm going to tell you. Go check that out. Her description of this is like no other, and I would not attempt to recreate that. What I will share with you about this fragrance, actually, let me read one of the Fragrantica reviews. Curly Kitty 8 writes, Myths is disparately muted, spiritless, and somewhat strange. There seems to be no rhyme or reason to Myths, no melodic flow, just a series of dissonant notes, like a tune that is off key and certainly not worth singing. Amen, sister. Before I tell you my own impressions of this, Mrs. Yes on Fragrantica writes, how could such a beautiful fragrance turn into such a disgusting, unwearable stench? All I can smell is strong urine. I suspect it's ambergris. I am not getting along with. It's a big no. So, this is supposed to be a very earthy green fragrance. This smells to me like when Jim Carrey played the Grinch. I'm talking about the live movie, The Grinch, remember? Imagine that the Grinch is in a haunted mansion playing a pipe organ surrounded by wet, old, dirty moss. That's the best I could come up with. And somehow I have not sold this bottle yet or tried to give it away. I'm still playing with this bottle. There's still something intriguing about it. I know, sounds crazy. You spray it on and you think it's going to be beautiful right away. And then it does dry down into that, for me, that image that I just painted for you. Ooh, wee, wow. Yeah, but we're not done yet. I am going to continue to give Amouage Myths a chance, and I'm going to report back to you all how I feel about it. But my initial, second, and third impression of this is, what the heck is in this bizarro concoction? I hope that you all have a happy Halloween and get lots of candy, especially Reese's peanut butter cups from the kids in your life. Have a great one, everyone. Take care.